Nope. No skeletons here. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not a skeleton. That's not a skeleton. That's a skeleton. This is shadowgearinbox doing a review of Skull Warrior. Here he is, doing his bow and arrow justice. So Skull Warrior, I treat differently than the others because out of all the Skull villains, he is probably the most generic in terms of like design, in terms of silhouette. He doesn't really offer all that much. However, he is treated as a foot soldier, and I like the way I like that idea a lot. And the way he's built is very interesting. I'm not going to talk about necessarily about how he's built, because you can tell how he's built with this one. It's not as in depth as the Toa or even some of the protectors are, but you can tell that he's a lot more mismatched than the others. He's definitely falls with the more skeletal kind of zombie theme than anyone else does. Primarily because of his legs. Because this is the ice themed guy because he comes with the Kopaka's mask. But he does have a femur that works as a femur, and then a femur that is not actually a femur, which is weird, but whatever. But because he's the ice guy, it's like these are like blocks of ice, and that's a block of ice or armor on it. Like, it looks like his bones are frozen. That's really cool. I like that a lot. But there's also just the variation here is really nice. The reason is his toes being orange is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about that. Then again, the orange in general is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really work with a lot of these guys. It doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but it just kind of doesn't work. But yeah, I like the legs a lot, and then the same thing happens with the arms here, where the arms are pretty much the same except for this one that has another trans blue bone, more armor, and whatever. But, yeah, and he comes with two different weapons, a staff and a bow and arrow. We'll get into those in a second. But I think it'd be really cool that, like, I'm not sure if people probably would do this. I mean, there are some people who collect the sets and don't take them apart or anything. But if you were to do that, like, it'd be cool if you were to do variations on the limbs. Not necessarily on the torso, because you can't really do a lot with the torso in terms of, varying it up. But, changing the limbs would be really cool. Like, put these two, like, giant armor bits, like, on his shoulders or on his knees, and mess with his limbs to make him look more skeletal. I think it's so dumb that in the animations, animation, I don't know, there's a leaked one in Russia for all I care, that all the Skull Warriors are the same in terms of build. Like, there's no variety in them whatsoever, which I feel like is completely inaccurate to how something of this type of necro brought back to life type of dead body thing. Like, some parts would be fully together and some parts wouldn't. Like, it makes no sense to me. But yeah, like, vary up the limbs, like, change it up. Like, maybe there'd be armor on here but no armor here, or armor there, no armor there. I don't know, it's all right. Let's move on to the torso just a tiny bit. He does have a gearbox function. You can move his arm up and down, which makes no sense for the bow and arrow, but makes sense for the staff. But I'll get to both of those weapons in a goddamn second, because I feel like they are gravely dumb. But the chest piece, I'll talk about the chest piece real quick. Some little fangs there, some chains, some nice blue pistony looking bits. I think this is the only silver one we get out of all of them. The print is, whatever, but the actual chest piece itself is silver. So that's different. That's nice. It's nice to get a piece that's not in gunmetal, even though his face is gunmetal. Ah! Once again, I really love this skull mask. I think it's really cool. I think someone mentioned in the Coulter review that the forehead design on this guy is the same type of forehead design on the skull spiders. Which, I don't know, that's kind of cool. I don't know. I think that's alright. In general, again, awesome looking mask, and I can't wait to get it again in gold if it ever does come out in America. I hope it does. So, oh, and also he does come with the gold and trans light blue Kopaka mask. Bumping the camera is not a good thing to do. So if I just put this mask on him, he is ready to go. I actually like the way this looks a lot on him. I think this looks really cool. Like, the gold doesn't matter at all, but then again, his color scheme is messed up to begin with. But I like the trans orange, like, shining through the trans blue at the top. I think that looks really nice. Yeah, look at that. But the weapons, for a guy who's meant to be just like a foot soldier, his weapon should be more versatile. And like, there's a way to store the staff on here, and you can pull the staff off and, you know, do whatever with it. And do that. You noticed I kept the little little studs, not studs, but pins in his hands. They're always pen take out of. You know, I don't want to really mess around with that. But he does come with a bow and arrow. He's the only one out of the Skull villains that actually comes with an actual launcher, which it works like the smaller protector ones, where you twist this in the back and all the studs fly out. And I don't know, I like the way it's built. It's a lot longer. It's just a bigger version of the protector version. And you just put it in his hands. The issue with this guy, though, is that I'm having a hard time trying to make him look cool with this, because his arms aren't long enough to really, you know, work with this bow and arrow. I mean, if you want to make him look normal and still hold the bow, he'll look like this. But that doesn't look accurate. Like, I would like to have him hold it up like this and put his arm out like that. And that kind of works, but like his wrists look really weird. I don't know. It's just, I feel like this bow and arrow is a little bit too long. Just a tiny bit. But it's a cool weapon and all. But then you also get the staff. And the staff, well, it's a staff. I mean, you can't fuck up a staff, really. But you kind of did in terms of how he holds it. Because it comes with this little piece. This little tactic bit with the normal connector. And it works. It's a way to attach it to his back. But it tells you to build the weapon like this. Like, this is his weapon. So this little piece that sticks off is not a part of his torso. This is a part of how he holds it. So if you want to have him hold the staff, and just take out this little pin here. There we go. And let's say you want to have him dual wield and put it in this hand. It's gonna be kind of a challenge because, like, how do you hold it? Like, you hold it like this? You hold it like a gun? I mean, that looks stupid. Or you can kind of just put his hand sideways and have him hold it like this, like a staff. Which looks super fucking dumb. Like, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong here. Maybe I just didn't look at the instructions well enough. But it's something that's super distracting to me. I really don't like the way this works. And what's even more criminal is that if you want to store the bow and arrow on his back, there's nowhere to do it. I mean, it has enough ports to where you can try and find a way. And I'm sure if you have one of these guys, I'm sure you have extra bonus parts somewhere floating around to where you can find a way to attach it to his back, you know, kind of hanging off like this or maybe off to his side. But I don't know. There should have been something. There should have been a way to store his bow and arrow on the back. That's the one thing I can't stand, because I don't want him holding this bow and arrow all the time. I really don't. I would much prefer to have him hold the staff and have the bow and arrow on his back. I'm not going to be able to do that because there's nowhere to put this bow and arrow, or launcher, or crossbow, or whatever you want to call it. It's a bow and arrow, I guess. But yeah, at the time of this recording, I don't have Skull Scorpio yet. And he seems to be the least favorite out of everyone. I don't blame them. But in terms of Skull Warrior, he has a lot of cool ideas, but I think in general, he's just kind of boring. Like, his weapons are kind of sloppy the way you deal with them. I think his look overall is really nice. Colors, I think if you're going to mix the orange with anything, I think mixing it with the blue is the best because it contrasts a bit more and it looks a bit nicer. But it's still really weird. But overall, I like Skull Warrior. I think he's a really cool troop builder kind of guy. It's just, I don't know. So I guess the last one I have to do out of all of these is Skull Scorpio. And I'm debating on picking him up now. I don't know. Should I wait?
Scorpio!
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 Skull Scorpio!
Skull Scorpio!
Scorpio!
Complete trash!
Have a good day, everyone. Dun, 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 dun.